is Mark Gunn Media.
Hit it! Welcome to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. I'm your host, Mark Gunn. The views expressed on this program are those of the host and guests and not necessarily reflective of anyone or any entity associated with this broadcast. Today's episode, Alabama, don't fall for the Okidoke. Alabama elected a Democratic senator for the first time in 25 years.
I think that I have been waiting all my life, and now I just don't know what the hell to say. I have always believed that the people of Alabama had more in common than to divide us. We have shown the country the way that we can be unified.
Throughout the last few weeks of the campaign, emphasis was placed on the importance of the black vote. It was also important for Jones to reach Republicans that simply could not vote for Roy Moore.
I have felt empowered, not only as a Republican, I feel like holding my party to a better standard, but as a woman who I think is making the right choice.
Blacks showed up in record numbers that rivaled the turnout for Barack Obama back in 2008.
Black women, 98% of them voted for Doug Jones. 92% of black men voted for Doug Jones over Roy Moore. How did white voters do? Uneducated white men and women, more than 80% voted for Roy Moore. 60% of educated white voters, those with college degrees, voted for Roy Moore. That's how the alleged pedophile actually was able to keep this race close.
What this election showed is that we as a people are able to get out the vote without the Democratic machine.
Every vote mattered. So whether or not it was NAACP, whether it was black churches, whether it was black millennials, you had a variety of entities who did their part to ensure this turnout.
Bottom line for the state of Alabama is that decency won. Now, I'm not treating this like a big deal, like other people are, because this is how it was supposed to be. You don't get a cookie for doing the right thing. Now, here's the problem I have with this particular Democrat and the party as a whole. There's a profound tone deafness as it relates to the black vote.
I'm afraid that they will come out of this and take the wrong lesson. Normally what happens is that when a white candidate wins, it's their brilliant strategy. When they lose, it was the black vote didn't come out.
Doug Jones campaigned on the one highlight of his career as it related to black people.
Early on, and of course late in this race, many African Americans were saying Doug Jones and his white campaign advisors did not understand how to reach African Americans. They were only talking about, of course, his prosecution of the Klansmen who blew up 16th Street Baptist Church.
Like most Democrats, he didn't have a heavy presence in the black community until he realized how much he needed that vote. However, the Jones campaign released a mailer that should have ended any support in any way, shape, or form.
Over the past few days, your mailbox has probably been packed with political ads, but it was one in particular that made Dana Davis do a double take.
As soon as I got this, I just looked like, what is this?
The flyer from the Doug Jones campaign makes reference to sexual abuse allegations against Roy Moore, but then invokes race on the backside.
Think if a black man went after high school girls, anyone would try to make him a senator.
What got her most is she felt targeted.
I was offended. When I posted it on Facebook, none of my friends that are Caucasian received it. I found out that a lot of people said it was only sent out to African-American homes.
If this message doesn't hit people to motivate them, does it look like you're pandering?
For Keith Johnson, that answer is yes.
For his campaign to put this flyer out, it's a complete slap in the face. I mean, I wouldn't vote for anyone that went after high school girls. This is not a black or a white issue. Prior to this, I actually was going to vote for Doug Jones. I actually felt like he was a better candidate with some things that he had done. But after receiving this, I've decided not to vote at all.
This is another example of the problems with the Democratic Party. Black folks have been fiercely loyal, but that loyalty has not been reciprocated.
When it comes to the Democratic Party, I think that they've taken the black vote for granted for quite some time. But at the end of the day, when I see what transpires in our community, how I think the biggest impediment to the growth of our community is the fact that, you know what, we don't force people to flatter us. Mm-hmm. We don't sit back and say, you know what, I'm not going to just give my vote to the Democratic Party. I want to stand by as an individual with individual opinions. I want to see what you're offering if you're the Republican Party. I want to see what you're offering if you're the Democratic Party. And I want to gauge what's in my best interest. The black community has not done that for decades, since the days of Barry Goldwater, for crying out loud, or Lyndon B. Johnson. We haven't done it.
Think about it. When was the last time you saw your representative? Was it shortly before this past election? Now, this is one of the very reasons why I left the party and am now a registered independent. I hold a healthy skepticism and mistrust for both Democrats and Republicans. Black folks in Alabama are riding high on their ability to have made a difference in Tuesday's election. Here's the thing. Where was all this motivation during the midterms? You know, when Democrats had their asses handed to them because of voter apathy?
Voter turnout among the 300,000 students who attend HBCUs nationwide fell by almost 11% from 2012 to 2016. Some of that decline is attributed to the fact that President Barack Obama was not on the ticket in 2016, but voter apathy among HBCU students is also a part of a growing disconnect between the Democratic Party and young African Americans. If this trend continues, Democrats could see black voter turnout drop from 30% next year, 5.2 million fewer African American voters. For millennials ages 18 to 35, there would be a 35% drop next year, a loss of more than 25 million voters.
Question: how can black folks actually get something out of black votes? I'll tell you after this. If you're an advertiser, one of the most important things about getting your message out is actually standing out from the rest of the crowd. If you're listening to this program right now, this is where you would hear your commercial. As an exclusive sponsor to Gunshots Straight from the Hip, your commercial is professionally produced and gets a longer shelf life based on your needs. Gunshots Straight from the Hip is a unique and compelling program, unlike anything else in the marketplace. Episodes are also available for download on iTunes, and depending on how you tailor your message, the potential for new and repeat customers is that much greater. Best of all, it's extremely cost-effective. If you'd like more information on how to sponsor this broadcast, call Mark Gun Media Inc. at 502-205-2085 or 502-407-0283. That's 502-205-2085 or 502-407-0283.
They always tell black people to get their stuff together, but every time we get it together, you burn it down. Because the truth is we are the child race of America. And us being ignorant financially, socially, and mentally, we spend like children. We act like children. So us acting the way that we act right now, America makes billions of dollars off of it. If you want to solve the problem of white supremacy, there's only two things you can do. Praying ain't one of them. Marching ain't one of them. Debating with your enemy is not one of them. There's only two things white supremacy respects. It's the loss of life and the loss of finance.
Welcome back to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. I'm Mark Gunn. We're talking about this week's Alabama senatorial election, the role black folks played in it, and the danger of getting played by the Democratic Party again. Now, this has to be said that I am a registered independent. I don't roll with the Democrats and I don't roll with the Republicans. I have a healthy skepticism of both parties. Now, there are a couple of takeaways from this election. One, just as in 2008, black voters with a strong infrastructure can be extremely effective in getting folks through registration and to the polls on Election Day. The effort in Alabama existed for the better part of a couple of years because of the ongoing voter suppression efforts of that state's Republican administration. Now, if we're being completely honest, under normal circumstances, a candidate like Doug Jones, who has no significant ties to the black community and is a one-trick pony with his 16th Street Baptist Church routine, would have never garnered as much of the black vote as he did. Black folks simply didn't have a choice. Number two, speaking as an independent, with the election of Donald Trump, the Republican Party has effectively committed political suicide as it relates to black voters. This gives Democrats even more of a reason to take your vote for granted. You've whored yourselves out to the party and simply haven't demanded nearly enough in return. The media lauds black voters as, quote, the backbone of the party, but it certainly hasn't felt that way. If you are a black Democrat, you must use your political capital to hold your representatives accountable. It's not enough for politicians to do a drive-by, come into the community, shake a few hands, kiss a few babies, and then leave once they have your vote, never to be seen again until the next election. Now, I'm still pissed off about the shameless pandering that Hillary Clinton did in 2016 when she came here to Louisville. Number 3, the old warriors must make way for the young lions. When it comes to grooming others for leadership, the black community in general has done a poor job of looking to the future. Too many egos and too many of the old guard are too comfortable in their positions, all the while stifling progress. If you have representatives that have held office for a long time without being a catalyst for progress, it's past time for them to go. Politicians seem to have forgotten that they work for us. It's not the other way around. And finally, number 4. I've long held the belief that it was past time that blacks and other people of color left both parties to form our own independent voting coalitions. Now, the likelihood of a third party ever being seen as legitimate is highly unlikely because the Democrats and Republicans have far too much money invested in keeping the two-party status quo. We can, however, withhold our votes until the politicians seeking them prove worthy of our support. We can also groom our own candidates that would represent our agenda. This past Tuesday was a watershed moment for politics in the state of Alabama, to be sure. However, don't break your arm patting yourselves on the back. The 2018 midterms are coming, and unless the same enthusiasm and energy is used to get rid of useless politicians on both sides of the aisle, everything done this past week means absolutely nothing. As Malcolm X once put it,
anytime you throw your weight behind a political party and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.
So, black folks, what are you going to do with this power that you've had all along? Will you use it to make real changes next November? Or will you continue to fall for the Okidoke? You've been listening to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and not necessarily reflective of any entity or anyone associated with this broadcast. If you'd like to leave a comment or want more information about how you can advertise on this program, email us at gunshotsstraightfromthehip@gmail.com or call 502-205-2085 or 502-407-0283. All comments are welcomed. You can also download this and past episodes on iTunes and other social media outlets. Just search for us by name. Gunshots Straight from the Hip. Thank you for listening.
Bar Gun Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.